Sports Talk 790. Let's get out to Larry. Larry, what's up, man? How you doing, brother?
Hey, I'm doing good, brother. How you doing, man? You great?
Come on, man. I'm on the right side of the dirt. Everything's good, my man.
Hey, man, anytime we can look at some grass rather than being underneath it, we good, man. Look here. I'm going to get into a couple things, son. Y'all was talking about King Tuck and Alvarez, right? And as diehard Houston sports fans, we've always seemed to, especially of late with the Astros, we've had to make these choices. Do we want to keep Carrera over Springer, or do we want to, sign Bregman and not sign Lance? We're to the point now where the Astros have to quit. I don't really want to say they're lowballing these guys, but we got some high-value players. Let me ask you real quick before I get into the rest of the rant, Sean. Who would you rather lose, Tuck or Alvarez?
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
You know what? Here's the deal. I don't like that option, brother. I'm taking
Exactly. That's the nuclear option. That's right. The whole point. You got these young dudes in your lineup that could set your franchise on a path when you bring up Leon and all these other dudes that you maneuver through your training, your farm league and everything. So you got these dudes, and you want to see, as a fan, you want to see them take it to that next level. Because for fans, it's about championships. And that's why my angst and my anger towards them Texans have always been, as much as I love them, I'm so angry with them because they've never allowed us to feel the release of winning a championship. And the Astros have done that. I don't want to lose King Tuck at all because we know he's 5'2", but when you got the big fella sitting up there with that bat in his hand like Alvarez, you looking down there, you like, hey, man, I don't want to see him in another uniform. I know you can't keep everybody, man, but here's the thing. These dudes are young enough, and they've earned the right to get paid. So now it's time for the Astros, who've made a lot of money since 2015 when they wasn't losing 100 games a year. They made a lot of money because we sell out over there. The whole organization over there is sitting fine on financials. It's time to pay some of these dudes because as from where I'm sitting, I want to keep everybody, but I understand when I got them two, King Tuck and Jordan, no, dog, they can't put on another uniform. Sean, I want to get into the draft real quick. Last night, I like the third pick. You go get Paolo Banchero. You go get Jabari Smith. I'm not a fan of Chet because Chet looks like he needs to come over here to somebody's soul food place and eat a whole plate of 40-weight gravy, dog. That 195, no. You need to be 250 in the paint dealing with some of these folks. And Chet needs some of them, that okra, corn, and sausage or something, man. Because he didn't get that in Minnesota. But
he doesn't know anything. He doesn't know anything about those hog maws, does he, Larry?
No, you don't know nothing about them greens with them hog maws in it, man. But he needs to find out about it because if you look around, a whole bunch of people starting to enjoy that 40-weight gravy, Sean. Look here, last thing before I let you go. Look here, Sean. When you play high school football, college football, and you played in the National Football League, obviously at the highest level, I'm sure some of your best friends or some of your best people, your teammates were black, right?
You think? Yeah. No doubt. Right. Yeah.
I'm sure you went to war with some brothers over there that would stand with you under every circumstance.
And still do. Yes.
And still do it today. Yep. The reason I bring that up is this. Buffalo, that thing in Buffalo, that hurt me, son. And let me tell you why. I've had some white people in my life that are some of the greatest people I've ever met who gave a little black boy from Third Ward the confidence that he could go to college. And some of my best teammates and my roommates were white young men that I would go to war with. And to see this world that we keep this division up, as much as I love all my homies and everybody else, we cannot keep treating my people like that, man. And I tell people that I have this conversation with, I love everybody because we was raised to be welcoming and to invite people into our homes. And when I think about my old algebra teacher, Miss Owens at Westbury High School, who told me, Larry, you can go to college and be successful. And then when I walk in my backyard and I look around and see what I've done for my family and change the narrative about my family, that's what I want America to look like, son. And I know that's a pretty hard pill to swallow for some people on an early Tuesday or Wednesday morning. But I'm about unity, man, and I want it to get better in this country and our hall.
Larry, thanks, man. I love you, brother. All right, well, I couldn't have said that better. What went on in Buffalo and what's gone on more than once, as we've seen, is horrific, disgraceful, and I listen, when I say I can understand, I can only understand because hearing it from friends of mine that are black and that suffer and feel like you do. And I don't think it's just exclusive to African Americans feeling the same way, because a lot of us do, about what happened there and what's happened in a lot of different situations in our country. And Larry, you're 100% correct. I don't get it. I get what you said. I don't get what happened in Buffalo other than straight hate. And there's got to be a way that I don't know how you fix it, fellas, but there's got to be a way to. It's Larry and you. I appreciate you. We don't get to share those kind of things very often when it comes to society on a sports show, but you're passionate. And I know, reading your stuff every day, how you feel about race relations and hatred and anger and trying to make it not only equality, but bring people together. I can't understand it, not only from an African American's perspective, because, well, I'm white, but I can only understand it from friends of mine all over the country that I've been tight with for years, and get their side and what they see. But I don't care what color you are, to witness that and not be sickened by what we saw. Then we need to check for a pulse. Yeah, because it's just awful. And Larry, I'm with you, man. I don't get it, and I'm only going to say this about sports, because society and sports, they do rival, but where I came from, rival each other. I mean, they are parallel. I believe that. There's a lot of sports and society, but sports is better in one way. Maybe not all of them, but in one way. I can tell you this, that the greatest form of diversity that I've ever been a part of was locker rooms. It's always been that way. And I wrote a paper on it this last semester. The greatest part of inclusion and diversity. And people, and Larry, you know, as you're listening to this, and anybody else, is in locker rooms. You know why? Because, like Larry said, in going to war, going to battle, every day you do it, but also in society, and there are parallels to that. It is disheartening. It's gut-wrenching. I know we talk about it, but instead of the divide, we got to talk about how we can bring it closer together. And I don't have the answer other than I don't know how we get rid of hatred. Some of us don't have it, and I'm with you, Larry. I from a young age, being raised in the right family, but also in locker rooms from day one, I have a hard time, because that to me was the greatest form of diversity, because the love that those, and still do, those relationships that I've had, the greatest relationships I've ever formed were with the dude sitting next to me in a locker room that went through the same things sports-wise, but also was able to share with all those of us who grew up ignorant to it because we weren't raised in the third ward like Larry was, that you have 2 ears and one mouth and listening to people so you can educate yourself on it. And I was fortunate. Locker rooms and being an athlete was the greatest thing, not only just because it's given me jobs and opportunities in my life, but to hear perspective that you never would have heard if you were never exposed to it. And what went on in Buffalo is gut-wrenching, and it's got, and Larry, you said, in meaning for your people, hopefully it's for all our people, but for the black people all over the country, what a horrific day. And if you weren't sickened over what you saw, then we got to check you.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. I saw the story yesterday about, I guess he was thinking about targeting a school or something. Like, I mean,
that wasn't supposed to be done. What got shut down was supposed to be, he wanted more, apparently.
Yeah, I'm going to have kids one day that I've talked about before that aren't going to appear to people to be white because their mom is black. And, like, it's, that kind of crap scares the hell out of me. It's going to give me a life full of stress because people will look at them and not look at them as they should. And it sucks.
Yep. And Larry, you never have to apologize on my show for coming in and sharing something that's, well, like I said, the parallels of sports, but that's more important than sports, because no matter what goes on in sports over the weekend, what we saw happen in Buffalo, it takes away all that good feeling. It just does. And meaning the sports good feeling. So you never apologize on this. I've always said in the last 4 years, there'll be a platform for anybody that comes out here and says stuff that's honorable and fair and honest and opinion. And you're a passionate man, and I appreciate it. And I would imagine a lot of people feel, and you got the guts to say it. And I appreciate it. And I know we do here too, because in MC, I get it, what you're talking about. I I just can't fathom the hatred and anger. I just don't. That part of it I don't get growing up in locker rooms. I just don't. Society's whacked out in a lot of different ways. It is, and Larry, your passion doesn't go unnoticed. I love you, man, and I appreciate insight that we need to, instead of battle when somebody says something like that, how do we fix it? I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer. I think a lot of it's how we talk to each other and how we're raised. It's a lot of it. If you're raised right, and I was fortunate to be one of them that was in that form, I'd make a lot of mistakes, but never a mistake when it comes to the dude sitting next to me in a locker room or in society. Larry, thanks, man. We appreciate you. Doug,